Hello, my darlings. So yesterday we were given the graph and we tried to write the equation. Now we're going to go the other way where we're given the equation and we are going to use it to draw the graph. So our basic form is y equals a times the absolute value of x minus h plus k. And just like yesterday, a acts as your slope, sort of, because it goes, both directions to form a V instead of just a straight line. The H gives you the X value for your vertex, and the K gives you the Y value for your vertex. So given this graph right here, I start by figuring out my vertex is the point 0, 2, which means my H is going to be 0 and my K is going to be 2. And then I notice there's this point over here, so I go up 1, 1, 2, 3 to the right 3, or I go up 1, 1, 2 to the left 3, which means my slope is 1/3, and it's a positive 1/3 because we are opening up. So my slope is 1/3. The H is 0, so I just get the absolute value of x, and then the K is 2. So y equals 1/3 times the absolute value of x plus 2. All right, so for B, it's facing down, and our vertex is 0, 3, which means the H is 0 and the K is 3. So then I looked for a point, and I could see down 2 to the right one and down 2 to the left one. So our slope is 2, but this time it's -2 because our graph is opening down. The H was 0, so there's nothing attached to the x, and then the k was 3. So we get y equals -2 times the absolute value of x plus 3. All right, so example 1, draw another absolute value graph on top of the original grid in A, whose graph forms a rhombus with the graph above. Write the equation of the graph you just drew below. Well, I wanted to form a rhombus, so I wanted it to go through these same 2 points that I had right here. And since this was one below, I put this one up above. So that way this time my slope was a -1/3 instead of a +1/3, but went through those same 2 points. So that way I know these 4 sides all have a rise and run of the same thing, a rise of 1 or -1 and a run of 3. But since it's opening down, my slope is going to be a -1/3 instead of a +1/3. And the vertex is now at 0, 4 instead of 0, 2. So -1/3 times the absolute value of x plus 4. And same thing here was to draw another one so that we get a rhombus. And then we wanted it to write our equation. So again, I want my slope to be the same slope. And since this one's kind of 3 above the x-axis, I decided to put my vertex 3 below the x-axis. So just trying to get those equal distances. And then a slope of 2, so up 2 to the right one, up 2 to the left one. And so y equals 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3, because the vertex is the point 0, -3. So the h is 0, the k is -3. All right, so now we're going to take the equation and draw the graph. So I start by looking inside here. So my h is 3. It's always the opposite sign because notice it's x minus h. So this is x minus 3. So my x value is actually +3. And then the k value is +4, so that's right 3, up 4. So there's my vertex, the point 3, 4. And then since the slope is negative, that tells us we're going to be opening down. So down 1 over 3. So, oops, I went down 2. So sorry about, or no, sorry, I'm on -2. There we go. Sorry. So -2, which would be down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the left 1. So from the vertex, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the left 1, and we draw our absolute value function. Now the nice thing is, notice this arrow keeps going to the left, this arrow keeps going to the right, so our domain is just going to be all real numbers. The range, though, our absolute values only go one direction. There's nothing up here. So the y value was at 4, and we went down from there. So our range is y is less than or equal to 4. All right, so example 4, 1/3 times the absolute value of x. Notice there's no h and there's no k. So h and k are both 0. So our vertex is the origin, the point 0, 0. And then a slope of 1/3 says up 1 over 3. So from there I went up 1 to the right 3 and up 1 to the left 3, and I draw my lines. Or I really should say rays, because they only go one direction. And once again, they keep going left and right, so our domain is all real numbers. But there's nothing down here, so our y value is 0, and the graph goes up from there. So the range is y is greater than or equal to 0. All right, so it is your turn, which means hopefully you kind of tried it on your own first, but I know since I'm not here, you may have just, it was already there in the answer key, so you may have just copied it. So g of x equals negative 3/4 times the absolute value of x plus 1 plus 5. So this is where it gets tricky. It's supposed to be x minus h. Well, this is the same as x minus negative 1. So our vertex is going to be at negative 1, positive 5. So we go left 1, up 5, and there's our vertex. The slope is negative, which means we're going to be opening down. So I'm going to go down 3 and over 4. So down 3 to the right 4, down 3 to the left 4. And I draw my rays. Again, it keeps going left and right, so our domain is all real numbers. But it starts at this point and opens down, and that point has a y value of 5, so the range is y is less than or equal to 5. And our last example, g of x equals the absolute value of x minus 4. So there's nothing inside with the x, which means the h is 0. The minus 4 means the k is negative 4. So our vertex is the point 0, negative 4. And just like any variable, if there's nothing in front, then the coefficient is a 1. So this means our slope is 1. So from our vertex, up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the left 1, and we draw our rays. Again, domain stays the same for these, all real numbers. This y value is negative 4, and we open up from there, so the range is y is greater than or equal to negative 4. And that is how you graph an absolute value function, my darlings.